Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, having listened to such great, eminent people in the morning, I thought it was quite intimidating for me to talk about digital transformation now because I think they have covered almost everything from many aspects of what security is about and how does it impact our lives and things like that. But I'm just going to cover the other side of how these things happen and why, and particularly give you some ideas around what I do in the healthcare space. Now I work for Sankara Nethralaya as the Chief Information Technology Officer. I think there are a lot of things that we have been doing which have been pretty much touching lives actually. So my personal thanks before I could really get into the subject is to thank Mr. Deepak ji and the WAR India team to have given me the opportunity to be here, particularly in Delhi. I come from Chennai to talk about the collaboration to digital transformation. Pretty much like a homecoming for sure, because last year I had the opportunity to receive the eminent CIO award through WAR India, and I think this year again I've been called upon to talk about a similar subject like what has been done last year. But more importantly, I think what we may need to understand is, having discussed or heard about the security side of it, is what drives the digital economy. I think it's important for us to understand what drives the digital economy and what are the most important component of the digital economy. It's obviously, we all know it's all going to be data, which is the new oil. I think there are no two qualms about what this is about, and the rise of a completely new set of companies in the 21st century, particularly after the Y2K and the 20th century going into. I think when you really look into the last 30 years of transformation that has happened, I think none of the top 10 companies that you really saw in the 2000 are probably there, excepting probably for Microsoft. And what is also important to understand, the current top 10, 6 of the 10 are probably completely digitally led actually, and they operate at internet scale. And they try to innovate as much as they can, and they're staying relevant to the customers. So like what I said, I think largely when you really look into what is happening in the world, I think it's all digital. Most importantly, a lot of it is consumer or business centric, and also largely getting into something which is very, very disruptive. I think we just heard some of those ideas around what disruption could mean. See, the advent of some of these breakthrough technologies like cloud, I think we had quite a few conversations in the morning on security on the cloud and things like that. Analytics, IoT, RPA, I think these are buzzwords I think we have heard many times as vendors, as users, in terms of what is happening around machine learning and AI, etc. But for the first time in the history of mankind, probably, I think these are level playing technologies that are available to us. Whether you are a startup, whether you are a very large company or anyone in between, I think you have the same technology available to you. The only differentiator between what has happened over the 10 years to what is happening now is probably, you need to be innovative for you to really sustain and really grow. I think that's exactly what is happening as far as the current top 10 in the world is concerned. They continue to strive to innovate in terms of what they should be looking into it. So this leads to what is called as Industry 4.0 actually. So I don't need to really go explain to you what Industry 4.0 is about, but I think it's largely a confluence of disruptive technologies. Actually, it's where the physical world and the digital world really meets. And what this means is there is going to be a lot more lack of stability, I would say, because there are a lot more, almost everyone has an idea today. I think they really try to do something very disruptive and again very agile. What was supposed to be a system of record is no more a system of record. I think it has become a system of intelligence. Many things are autonomous. Actually, we have seen the Uberless cars and so many things like which can do it on your own. It doesn't need your permission actually. And the businesses have become more of a social enterprise as opposed to being business. I think that's a very significant shift that has happened over the last, probably for the last 10 years plus actually. And more importantly, if I really go back, I think what we can really see is some of the rest of the four companies are trying to do things like what an internet company is probably trying to do today. For example, recently Berkshire Hathaway, really tried to partner with JP Morgan Chase and with other technology companies to set up something very, very disruptive, which is going to completely change the way in which you are going to buy insurance, probably, for example. And or even Amazon, looking into things like getting into online pharmacy in US. And more recently, even in India, actually, somebody like Flipkart being bought over by Walmart because they really missed the bus as far as US is concerned. I think these are a lot of things that are happening which we don't know at a breakneck speed, with people with deep pockets and things like that are driving a lot more newer ideas around the way forward. So what has happened over these years because of these last 10 years of digital disruption, that I may call it, is a new set of customers have emerged who are always on. Obviously, we all know that we have been continuously in some kind of a social media platform in some way or the other, and obviously with some risk, and obviously when something is free, you are the product. Actually, we all understand that. And they're looking at continuously trying to bargain or looking at more value for the next deal. Actually, that's also happening. So the customer loyalty is probably missing as opposed to what it was around 10 years ago. So what has happened as far as these Industry 4.0 initiatives are concerned is there is an amount of collaboration that is happening between people in the one place thanks to social media, and also probably between man and machine. I think this is also something very interesting that is happening. You have a lot of autonomous things today, which really doesn't wait for you. For example, the Alexas of the world can really do a lot more things smarter than what you can probably do some few years ago. So looking back, are we really looking at social as a key component of our life? Probably yes, because social also drives based upon trust. And as humans, I think we do a lot of things based upon trust, and that has been very obvious in our day-to-day outcomes, whether in terms of buying a product, where the first thing is you go online and check for your Amazon in terms of the star rating, or you go do a Google to check who is abused in some of these products and things like that before you really make those decisions. Obviously, there is a lot of trust which you do it in a physical world, but those behaviors are probably getting into the digital world as well. So the peer network is becoming a bit of an influencer, I would definitely say, and the new age thinking has led to continuous innovation. Actually, those are things that are happening. So all these things, when I put into perspective, what is really happening is there is an amount of collaboration that is happening, which is leading into digital disruption and whatever that you may call it on. So I wanted to give you certain deep dive about what I do, but certain broad numbers which you already understand even from an Indian context. These are numbers that you're really seeing from Cisco, where our data is really going to explode from around 20 GB a month of consumption to around 240 GB of consumption in the next 4 years. And that can be corroborated with many other indicators that we can really see from the market. And another phenomenal change that is happening around is our internet usage is also increasingly becoming video-centric as opposed to being purely data-centric. I think these are largely big game changers that we can really see, and even the video is probably getting more into a 4K video as opposed to being a standard video. Why I'm putting this in a context is primarily I work in the healthcare, which is big on images and the video. And some of these things are obviously impacting an industry like healthcare, entertainment, and so on and so forth. So instead of getting too much into details about what other industries does, I think there are going to be a lot more speakers are going to speak about many other experiences. I may like to confine myself to what I do right now in the healthcare area and how collaboration is happening around, and give you one such example which is going to be completely disruptive in terms of what used to happen to what it is now. So we all know, as somebody as a user, I think we all know that as a hospital, if you are going to a hospital, I think you tend to have patient care as your number one priority, actually. And today it's all risk-based and incident-driven. So nobody likes to visit a hospital just for the sake of it. And when you went into a hospital or meet a doctor, it is obviously there is a lot of relationship that really needs to happen in the first place, and there is a lot of collaboration and communication. Although many of it, even in an Indian context, is slightly dated in the sense that we don't really use technology like the way a bank or financial institution today uses it, but I think that is bound to change. some of the early leaders are getting into that kind of a mode already, leveraging the cloud and the social and things like that. But when I try to dissect, the healthcare as an industry, actually we can broadly put it into critical care. Bulk of our needs today are into the critical care because you don't visit a hospital unless you are really sick. But there are certain areas, say the likes of the diabetes and things like that are there is going to be continuity of care. Now you really need to be with a doctor, but you cannot need to be on a day-to-day basis. That's where the technology is going to change. That is where the collaboration is driving a lot of new innovation happening in the healthcare space, thanks to IoT and other continuity of engagement and things like that. But on the other extreme are the health fanatics. I would definitely see these are the freaks who are more interested in the wellness. In fact, in the US or in the most advanced Western market, there is a lot of focus towards wellness. India is still yet to catch up, but I think the trend is going around. I think these areas are probably we see a lot of collaboration that is happening around in terms of wearables and looking at gadgets that are implanted into your body, where somebody is continuously looking into and monitoring and providing you information and things like that. So by design, certain things are changing even in the healthcare space because of the cost is one of the biggest issue, and the quality of care is also a bigger issue because of the lack of doctors and this availability and things like that. So this is a very, very recent slide about the rise of AI screening. I am touching upon one specific idea, which is screening. Because if you go to our doctor today, I think invariably, you have been mandated to do a few checks. And again, you will have to wait, you will have to take at least 3 to 4 hours or probably a day and a half to really to go do your screening and come back. But there is also going to be ongoing need for you to be screened and things like that. But the AI, what is happening in the AI world is they have identified based upon a non-invasive way of looking at screening and coming out with results actually. So progressive companies have already gone into it, and there is where the partnership between healthcare companies and the technology companies are happening around at a much advanced level. Actually, I'm going to talk about one of those examples which we are doing in Sankara Nethralaya, particularly on the ophthalmic side. Actually, we have been kind of a trendsetter there on the diabetic retinopathy. So this is one of those use cases where now the future of screening. Why this is becoming important as a disease, what you need to understand is, you may not even know there is something called as a diabetic retinopathy, because unfortunately in a country like India, we are the diabetic capital of the world. Every fourth person has an incidence of diabetes either in the family or in some way or the other. And the worst thing is it does impact your vision over a period of time, and the most unfortunate thing is you may not even know that there is something called a diabetic retinopathy. So obviously you don't know, you don't go to your doctor to check, and unfortunately because you don't check it out, there is what is called as an avoidable blindness. Potentially somebody could be blind down the line. So we are on a mission which is to prevent avoidable blindness. Actually that has been a mission that we started around 10 years ago. And this has been a project which we have been doing it over the last 3 years or so. And to give you very macro numbers, based upon our study of India alone, there are 52 million patients to be screened for diabetic retinopathy alone. And there are just around 3,500 doctors who are retinal specialists who can anything close to, they can do any kind of a study as such. So obviously, even if you want to do it for the rest of your lives, screening, you are unable to do it. The fact that you have not done the screening is the prevalence of a blindness could be much more in India because of one disease, which is basically diabetic retinopathy. So I just wanted to play a very small video here, primarily to give you an idea about the kind of disruptive thing that has happened over the years. Excuse me.
And I want to give you a couple of examples today. Healthcare is one of the most important fields AI is going to transform. Last year, we announced our work on diabetic retinopathy. It's a leading cause of blindness, and we use deep learning to help doctors diagnose it earlier. And we've been running field trials since then at Aravind and Sankara hospitals in India, and the field trials are going really well. We are bringing expert diagnosis to places where trained doctors are scarce. It turned out, using the same retinal scans, there were things which humans quite didn't know to look for, but our AI systems offered more insights. Your same eye scan turns out holds information with which we can predict the 5-year risk of you having an adverse cardiovascular event, heart attack or strokes. So to me, the interesting thing is that, more than what doctors could find in these eye scans, the machine learning systems offered newer insights. This could be the basis for a new non-invasive way to detect cardiovascular risk. And we just published the research, and we are going to be working to bring this to field trials with our partners.
Okay, this is the API which is designed, which has come out of the research that we have done over the last 3 years, working with the industry leaders, Google. So the API is it's an algorithm which is called as ARDA, or the automatic retinal disease assessment. Basically, what it tells is, you take a snapshot of your eye and it is submitted to the algorithm through our electronic medical record. It just gives you an instantaneous diagnosis. It takes less than a minute or so. This is completely a transformation of sort, in the sense that there is a wonderful partnership that really happened between Sankara Nethralaya and the industry leaders in terms of bringing out technologies where we can make a difference in the first place. And more importantly, I think, like what I said, is if you want to do a screening of the entire country, for example, today it is not possible. In the next 3 to 6 months, we could have done it actually, because thanks to this kind of breakthrough that we have achieved. And the good news is the algorithm is around 95% accurate, as opposed to around 91% accurate as far as the ophthalmologist is concerned, because this has been backtested for around nearly 3 years of around 2 lakh patient plus images that has been screened across India and also across the world. And based upon that, this is already live in our environment. Basically, what the doctor does is, they does the screening and they give those assessments, and the AI systems also does the screening and they give you the assessment, and they really compare. So it's a kind of a quality check as well, as far as what the doctor is going to likely to do it. So presently, this is where this is called as a fundus camera, which is little technical, which does the screening today. But progressively, what is going to happen is it's going to go completely onto a mobile device. We are not there yet, but I think 2 years down the line, because this may require some very specific purpose, a high definition camera, which will be part of a normal mobile device. I think those things are emanating. So what this means is the future of screening. This could be just one such disease, because there are, like what I told you in the screens, in the earlier slides, actually there are enough AI initiatives that has been happening around the world. But one of the most important things that needs to happen is industry collaboration between across the world, actually, to really take good amount of data that needs to be sampled out, and you really work on almost everything, which could really mean a large amount of difference to the mankind. Actually, I think that's what is happening as far as this particular industry is concerned. And most importantly, this is completely free for the users, actually. So we will be going live on this in the Sankara Nethralaya's website in the next 2 to 3 months. Actually, right now we have integrated into our backend systems. The next 3 to 4 months, I think we will be completely live. And so anyone in the country, if they have a valid image, they can simply need to upload it, and you will get a recommendation whether there is a diabetic retinopathy or not, and could probably be directed to your nearest doctor just in case there is a need, actually. In terms of other areas where we're working around, our roadmap is very simple. It's making information actionable at a very high level. But largely, the underlying is a large amount of collaboration at various sectors, which is one is on the research side, which is basically connecting science and technology, on the patient side, which is largely driving patient engagement. On the operation side, we drive about a lot of things which are around operational excellence. And for the employee, I think this is largely a knowledge initiative, so which is largely driving a lot of knowledge-oriented work, which may lead potentially into patents and things like that. I think that's where the collaboration really happens as far as our data is concerned. I would be happy to take any questions offline or whatever that could be. I'm here for the day. I'll be glad to take your inputs. Thank you so much.